Hey everybody, it's Leo from LeeroyGaming. I'm back with another Tiny Tina's Wonderlands video, continuing my series looking at the skill trees that have been released for all the classes. Now, I want to point out that with this video, as my previous videos, that you should take advantage of the timestamps below. But those of you that are brand new to this game, I will be doing a quick overview of the character first. We're going to look at the feat and the skill abilities that are pertinent to this class. And then after that, we're going to be jumping into the skill tree. So if you just care about the skill tree, make sure to utilize your jump ahead. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the skill tree and the information on the Clawbringer. Alright, as always, we're going to start with the class information for those that are new. So the Clawbringer focuses on fire and lightning damage. He's got a dragon aura that empowers their whole party with additional fire damage and more. They can either throw their spectral hammer at enemies to deal sizzling lightning damage or slam it into the ground and create a massive fire nova. And they have a trusty worm companion that flies at their side, breathing fire upon their enemies and raking them with razor-sharp claws. So kind of like a paladin-ish character support, and has a cool little dragon pet, which I'm really digging. Alright, let's take a look at the class feat, which is Worm Companion. And as with all class feats, it's very important to note that if you multi-class, class feat will be available to your primary class, as well as the action skills. So for example, if you combo this with another character that has a companion, then yes, you can have two permanent companions, which is fascinating. So the companion here is Worm Companion. The Clawbringer is accompanied by a Worm Companion that flies through the environment and attacks enemies with its claws and fire breath. Any increases to the Fatemaker's damage also applies to their companion. So this is brand new compared to Borderlands 3. So in Borderlands 3, you only buffed your companion damage when it's specific to that. But now, any damage to the main character is going to buff this. In addition to, there are certain passives that will apply just to the companion as well. So it doesn't go both ways, but there are ways to specialize when it comes to the passive tree to buff up the companion a little more. Now, the first action skill that the Clawbringer is going to bring to us is Cleansing Flames. The Fatemaker summons their hammer and slams into the ground, dealing melee damage and creating a massive fire nova, dealing fire ability damage to nearby enemies. It's a nice little AOE attack. Or Storm Dragon's Judgment, if you want to channel your inner Thor. The Fatemaker summons their hammer and hurls it, dealing lightning ability damage to all enemies it touches. It sticks wherever it lands and deals lightning melee damage every second to all nearby enemies. The Fatemaker can recall the hammer, damaging enemies along the path, ending the action skill early and returning or refunding a portion of the cooldown. So like I said, very Thorish. And now we look at the passive skills of the skill tree. So we're going to start with Oath of Fire. There's 5 points max you can put into this. The Fatemaker deals bonus fire damage with their guns, and their Worm Companion deals bonus fire damage. So just extra fire damage across the board. Now it's interesting that they really emphasize this, because they did mention in the description any damage that buffs us also buffs the Worm Companion. So I don't know if this is a redundancy or whether you get a double bonus for the Worm Companion, since it is stated 2 different times. I'm not 100% sure. It'd be cool if it double dipped. Probably doesn't. Probably it's just a verbal redundancy in the description. The next option here is Radiance. 5 points max. The Fatemaker gains increased maximum ward capacity. And ward is basically shielding in this game. So it looks like you have an option if you want to focus more on shielding versus health. That's something from previous Borderlands. Some builds will sacrifice shielding to really buff your health, or vice versa. And then the final tier 1 option is Oath of Thunder. The Fatemaker deals bonus lightning damage with their melee attacks, and their Worm Companion deals bonus lightning damage. So, it looks like you can focus in on guns and fire damage, or melee and lightning, or you could do both in theory. But I'm betting that there's going to be builds that are going to focus on one or the other to kind of really min-max one of the elements, especially if you focus on fire guns or lightning melee weapons, for example. So I could see that being a thing. Right, next we have Tier 2, and with Tier 2 we have Dragon Aura. The Fatemaker is surrounded by a Dragon Aura that grants themselves and all allies inside it increased elemental damage. So, nice AOE buff, and it says general elemental damage, so it doesn't matter whether you're focusing on fire builds or electricity builds or frost builds. This is going to help all of it. So this is really good, I think, for multi-classing. And also, obviously, if you're playing in a group to increase your overall DPS, I'm curious to see what the AOE range of this Dragon Aura is. Now, next we have Dedication, and also 5-point max. The Fatemaker gains increased action skill cooldown rate. The higher the reward, the greater the bonus. So I really like this. In all Borderlands, I've always been a big fan of the different action abilities. Anytime we can increase our cooldown rate so we can spam them more, I've always enjoyed that. And especially in this game that really focuses in on these spells and abilities, I love it. So here it kind of synergizes well if you're going to go for a high ward build as opposed to a health build. So I could see when you multi-class of other characters that focus in on more wards buildings, or builds rather than health builds, this could be a nice synergy. I'm a little kind of sad because I was really thinking about potentially comboing this with Graveborn to have those two pets. But the Graveborn is really big on health because it's sacrificing health, so you would want to have higher health, a little less emphasis on shielding possibly. So this could either cover up for that weakness, or you could really lean, you would want to really lean into max health. And so far we're not seeing any support of max health here, mainly just warding. So we'll see. Then we have Rebuke, also 5-point max here. And the Fatemaker gains damage reduction from all attacks. But it's nice for kind of being tanky. Additionally, all allies near the Fatemaker gain a chance to reflect damage back to their attackers as lightning damage. Ooh, I like that. And I'm assuming this will stack with Dragon Aura. So the damage reflection and lightning damage will hopefully increase by the Dragon Aura bonus as well. So really liking this support concept here. Very paladinish. Now for tier 3, we only have one element here, and that's Blasphemous, which it's like Baphomet, or Baphomet, right? Maybe I'm mispronouncing it. The dragon from D&D, but this is Blasphemous favor. It's a kill skill, 1-point max. Killing an enemy with a gun summons a fire orb that seeks out a new enemy, dealing fire ability damage. Killing an enemy with melee damage summons a lightning orb that seeks out an enemy, dealing lightning ability damage. Now, these kind of summon on kill abilities, I've seen mixed results in previous Borderlands games. More often than not, sadly, these abilities don't scale well into the end game. So they're kind of fun for leveling, but then once you get maxed out and your gun and potentially here your melee damage gets insane, it's very possible that whatever the damage these orbs do is insignificant. So I could see this as a fun ability. Unless they change the scaling on this, I have a gut feeling this is going to become obsolete pretty quick though. Alright, now we move on to tier 4 and we start with Firebolt. The Worm Companion will occasionally shoot firebolts at enemies, causing damage in an area and leaving a splat. I don't know what a splat is. I'm guessing it's like an AOE area. Maybe it stays on fire, maybe not. Additionally, the Fatemaker gains increased gun damage. So again, we're seeing this continued kind of synergy between fire damage and guns. And then I believe we're going to take a look in a second and see a synergy of lightning and melee. Next, we have Friend to Flame, and this is a 5-point max. And the Fatemaker's Worm Companion gains increased damage. Again, if we're leaning into pet builds, this will be really, really good for that. And then we have Storm Breath. The Worm Companion will occasionally use its lightning breath on enemies, causing lightning damage that can arc from enemy to enemy. Additionally, the Fatemaker gains increased damage reduction. Really love this combination, and so this clearly will combo with a nice melee build. And because you're going to be in more danger, closer to enemies, that damage reduction buff is really, really nice. Only 1 point. I could see this being an excellent addition. And in fact, because they're both 1 point abilities, why wouldn't you put 1 point to Firebolt as well as Storm Breath? It sounds like a no-brainer to me. Now we go on to Tier 5, and we have Awe, which is 3 point max commitment. After dealing fire damage, the Fatemaker gains increased critical hit damage. After dealing lightning damage, the Fatemaker gains critical hit chance. So this is fascinating. This really leans into the idea that this build should really weave in melee and range damage. Now, in this game, I feel that's going to be kind of natural, but this really leans into that. So going in, doing your lightning damage of your melee weapon, for example, or just having a gun that does melee damage to buff that crit hit chance, and then following up those fire attacks that will benefit from the higher crit chance. Really love this. It's only 3 points. I could see this being a really big part of any build for this character. I'm curious to see what the actual percentage increases. Maybe it's like 5% per point. I wouldn't mind having 15% extra crit hit chance. The crit hit damage would be nice if it was more than 5, but we'll have to see in game. And then we have for the other Tier 5 option, Indomitable. It's a 1-pointer. If the Fatemaker would enter Save Your Soul, again, that's the Save Your Life mechanic from previous Borderlands games. Instead, they refill the ward and deal bonus lightning damage for a short time. This skill is a long cooldown. I'm generally not a big fan of mechanics that emphasize interactions of Save Your Life or Save Your Soul, because that's just kind of protecting you from bad gameplay. And in the game, you're more often than not just focusing on being good enough where you don't die. So features like this don't become that useful that often. However, for 1 point, I could see this being useful, and it does have a DPS increase element, so we shall see. And then finally, we have Tier 6, the ultimate tier, Storm Smite, 1 point max. Whenever the Fatemaker activates an action skill, they call down elemental bolts that deal fire ability damage or lightning ability damage to all nearby enemies. Now, it doesn't dictate which one. Is it random? Is it whichever element is buffed the highest by your modifiers? I don't know. So this might be random. This is a cool concept of a top tier capstone ability. I wouldn't say it's as mandatory as some of the other options, but this is interesting. So overall, what I'm really seeing here is I'm loving the synergy for group play. This is going to be an amazing build or class potentially for group play. Curious to see if you have multiple Clawbringers, whether these different aura buffs will stack or not. Definitely love the dragon interaction, and I think this is going to be a popular multi-class option as well for those that want to have a cute little dragon that flies around with you, in addition to whatever other potential pets you may have. So hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, remember, support the channel by liking. Let me know your comments and your thoughts on this video and my other videos. Let me know what you would like to see from me in the future. And subscribe if you want to see more coverage on looter shooters and RPGs. Thank you for support, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.